Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FebruARTY show, which, as you know, as you've seen, I've been doing different live videos to talk about art, creativity, art therapy, different things like that, and bringing different people on to talk with me. So it feels really good to introduce you to Liz. Like we're doing this as a pre-recorded video, as you notice. We've just got it all at once. There's none of that live element. So yeah, Liz is here already. We haven't got that tech issue. So nice to have you join me, Liz.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited about today. I love what you've been doing, and I just think it's really good to be talking about creativity. And I love to encourage people to be creative in whatever way that means to them.
Yeah, and that's so similar to like what my mission is as well, of helping people to express themselves through creativity, like whether it's art therapy or whether it's something different. And when you think about sort of the idea of creativity generally, what sort of things come up for you?
I think it can be as small a concept or as bigger concept as you like, really. I think in the widest sense, it's kind of a way of living, and it's about that thinking outside the box, doing things in your own way, working out. Oh, here we go. This is Milo, everybody. He loves a Zoom.
Oh,
Doing things in your own way and playing around and experimenting with life. That's kind of my ethos on it.
yeah, yeah. And that's what you're describing there is that sense of being creative and creativity not just being tied to an act of the arts like
Yeah,
art, drama, music, craft, but it's something beyond that. It's something wider.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, like creatively kind of navigating the cat over your table as well as all those kind of things. And yeah, so what kind of things do you like to do?
So I love to play with watercolors. That's the
Yeah,
main thing that I use. However, I'm always up for a project.
yeah.
So um, I do all sorts of different things. Do collages. I like doing bits of printing. Recently, out of my comfort zone, I've been doing a slow stitching kit.
Oh yeah,
But that's
yeah.
been really good to try something I haven't done. I've tried fixing bits of clothing in the past, but that's been it since school, really. And I've not
Mm,
been very good at that. So actually coming at it with this idea of it is about slow stitching. It's about the mindfulness. I do a lot of mindful art for myself anyway, but using these different materials and this different way of doing it, it did make me slow down in a different way as well. And
mm.
it's a project that I just pick up for 20 minutes, half an hour, do a little bit. Then the cats get interested and try and eat the threads and put it down again. And
Oh
I don't
yeah.
mind when it's going to be finished. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it as a process and as
Mm.
something that am enjoying in the moment.
Yeah. Because I mean, I did my undergraduate degree was textiles, like constructed textiles, just thinking about those methodical steps of stitching if you're doing like embroidery and things like different sewing and different crocheting and all of those. And the thing with that is that there were so many things about the repetition and so many things about
Yeah.
making things by hand and it taking a long time to get to a completed piece
Mhm.
and that process of it very much being about the the what's really important about it rather than thinking this is really something I need to just get done quickly. It's taken a long
Mm.
time and then I'm feeling frustrated by that. So was that something that you experienced yourself, any of that frustration? Or did you from the start, did it feel like you were maybe like quite early on aware that yeah, this was it is going to be mindful for me?
Do you mean that project or art in general?
I think art in general could
Art in
work.
general.
So
Yeah.
like you were talking about the process of art and that mindfulness. Like, yeah, where's your stance when it comes to, make like why you might make art, knowing what you're doing, that when it's mindful or when it's maybe you've got an idea that you want to express.
Yeah, I think I've always loved art, but then I got kind of caught up in thinking that I had to make art for a purpose,
Mm.
and that then that kind of put me off. So I spent a long time kind of going, I sort of lost my passion for it, I think. And
Mm.
then I forgot the reasons why I made art in the first place, which was because I loved doing it. And once I
Yeah,
came back to the concept of I do this because I love it, then I kind of started to move more towards that mindful aspect of it and the making for the sake of making rather than trying to create an end product and not necessarily having a goal in mind. I used to tie myself up with I need to know what my project is. I need to know what this is going to look like. Um, Putting all these pressures on myself that I really didn't need, which when
yeah,
I think about it now are quite external
yeah.
messages that you get. And so letting go of a lot of that has really helped me to start doing things again and
Mm.
to bring back that love into my life of creating.
Yes, it's taking away that pressure to do something perfect and
Mm,
just like allowing yourself to have fun with it.
yeah.
Because, when we're children, we make these pictures and we experiment, try different things, try different materials. And well, for a lot of people anyway, it's not necessarily everybody. They're really nurtured to play around and
Mm,
to it's okay if you make a mistake. There's that message. But I do wonder, where it is as we're growing up that we start to notice out the standards of it and what it looks like and
mm,
any accuracies in our drawing or any like proportions of a face not looking like realistic to a human face, sort of the anatomy. And yeah, I think that maybe there is something about that for lots of things as children trying things when they're little and then they get to maybe being a teenager and suddenly they were doing gymnastics and they were enjoying it, but then maybe they don't really have that flexibility and maybe suddenly they're being it's about being chosen for the team and suddenly they realize
yeah.
that feel that they're not good enough and that maybe takes away the enjoyment of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm,
And my background is actually working with children, and
is it?
it did used to um, amuse me that you'd be doing some kind of project with kids, and they'd have the paints out, and they'd be like you say, just doing whatever felt good, and putting stuff on the page wherever it was, and then parents would be trying to help, but their version of help was it was one of two things. It was either the parent trying to enhance the picture to make it better, whatever better meant to them, or it was you could just see this sense of they loved watching their children doing the thing and they actually wanted to do it themselves. And I used to give
Yeah,
them that permission to sit side by side with the child and do the thing. And they would just love it. And they would then be absorbed in their own little world, and the child would be absorbed in their own little world, but like sitting together doing the thing. And it's just beautiful to watch that kind of stuff. But it's really
yeah,
hard as you get older to take away all those messages and thoughts around what does it look like? Why am I doing this? All the questions that you put in there.
yeah, yeah. And that's special, isn't it? Parents and children and, couples creating together, not necessarily, side by side, doing
Mm,
doing activities together for themselves. And
yeah,
what you described there sounded like that, in some conditions you get a parent that would come along and their intention is to help that child to make that piece of art look better, to help their skills, to help it
yeah,
look just like something was a photograph. And
yeah,
then you've also got the I'm witnessing my child creating, and I've also part of me, maybe there's a part of me that is envious of them, that's jealous of their capacity to do this and got permission to do this. And then stepping into that space where I'm supporting my child to do this actually is a way of feeling that they've got permission to play and create as well. And I
Yeah.
wonder how many people, you know, live their lives vicariously creating through other people, or whether they can allow themselves. And I'm not a parent, but just know how busy parents get and how busy they
Mm.
are. But that sense of what would it be like to actually do something for myself, to really allow myself to play and mess around with clay, or like get my fingers in the paint and
Yeah.
feel what it feels like, and to do something for me rather than because I'm supervising someday. Because does
And
that feel like what you experience sometimes then?
yeah, and it does make me sad that as we get older, we lose that. Well, we never lose the ability to play, but we lose sight of it, I think. We are
Mm,
so busy. There's so much that we should be doing. There's we have to go to work, we have to look after other people, we have to do this, that, the other. And it is hard to take a break from that and give yourself that space.
mm,
And I think when we do have the space, sometimes we might have perceptions around, well, we still need to do adulty type relaxation,
yeah,
but we can do whatever we want, you know.
yeah,
And I do think it's really important to find what our version of play is and
yeah,
to be able to lean into that and enjoy it.
yeah. There's so many shoulds, isn't there?
Yeah,
And then,
definitely.
trying to make sense of it, trying to kind of go, okay, well, or actively rebelling against the shoulds, and then
Mm,
inadvertently doing something that doesn't quite align either. I'm doing this
yeah.
because I want to like battle against the should. And yeah, I suppose an example of that, Liz, might be if someone is really striving for a really accurate, detailed picture, and they might be very talented at art, and then they're getting to the point where they've got a lot of pressure to make some things that look really, really accurate and good. However, actually, they are maybe nervous about experimenting with things,
Mm,
but then they'll maybe make something messy on purpose because they feel that they should. They feel like that this is maybe what art therapy asks for them, that they're making
mm,
something that's expressive and messy. But then they're going from one should to be accurate, the other should to be messy, and not really following what fits for them.
yeah.
I think we do that with expression. I think adults do that a lot. I know, like, it's a bit like going to work and acting in a certain way, and then going home or going out with your friends to karaoke or wherever you're going, and then being completely different.
Mm. Yeah, it can be difficult to find the balance of the situation you're in and who you are within that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're like, I've started to draw something here, and I was just thinking about actually, so people draw for all kinds of reasons, don't they? And like create a piece of art. Like it might not feel like a piece of art. It's about playing with the art materials sometimes.
Mm,
And and we were talking the other day about how what it would be like, what people feel about making art, whether they feel that they should be sharing it with people, whether they're using the picture to then communicate a message to somebody, or whether they're doing it purely for themselves. And as you were speaking about prioritizing kind of adult relaxation compared to like, oh, should I do something to relax, or should I do mindfulness or meditation, or should I be going to the spa? It's like, well, no, actually, I'd quite like to get my diamond art out, and I'd quite like to do some drawing or do some painting, but without it necessarily needing to amount to something.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think once you start creating with the mindset of you're doing it for yourself and
yeah,
it starts to change things. It starts to change like the decisions you make around it, I think, as well. So, um, like if you're creating something and you know that nobody's ever going to see it again, how's that going to affect what happens on the page? Are you going to be more of a risk taker? Are you going to
Yeah,
use different
yeah.
kinds of materials to what you would normally do and just play around with them a little bit more rather than worrying about, well, what is this going to be perceived as when I finally show it to the world? Will people understand it? Will I get judged for it? Will I get misjudged for it? You know, it starts to bring up a lot of things that might change how you do something.
Yeah. So then, have you noticed anything in how you make art then? If you've got have you got times when you are, I'm literally just going to do this. There's no intention, and I'm feeling that I can just do anything. Or is there, yeah, like, can you give me an example of when you've noticed that for yourself, maybe?
Yeah, so I very much got into creating kind of, I guess, like abstracty watercolors, which I call
Mm,
mindful art. So that's I might sometimes I have give myself a little prompt or a theme or something, and sometimes I don't. It's more about like how I'm feeling in that moment and how I can get started. So, for example, I might just be like, well, I'm going to choose a particular shape that I'm going to start with, and then see what happens from there. Or it might be the colors that I choose. Today,
yeah.
I've not made any decisions at all. There's just shapes and blobs and lines going all over the place.
Mm,
And um, I think that I used to be more wary of showing things, because yeah, of the yeah, just what people are going to think about that. But once I started to reframe it as, well, this is what I enjoy doing, and this is what's important to me, and it can, I mean, art just means whatever it means to people. You know, you have no idea how somebody is going to see your work, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter in a way. It's about what you've created and that you've shared it, and it can have an impact on other people,
yeah,
and it's up to them how they interpret it. So
yeah.
I think that, well, what I was trying to say with that, I went a little bit off there, was
No, I know what you mean.
that I used to have some reservations around sharing things that I'd created. However, now, because I'm doing things more from that centered approach of this is for me, um, I'm not overthinking it as much, and I'm not I'm trying to not compare myself to other artists and what they can create, you know, because I think that's a big trap that you can fall into.
Yeah,
Um, everybody's
it's
different.
endless, isn't it?
Everyone's got their own thing that's nobody else can replicate. And that's not necessarily even something you can put into words. But you'll see something and you'll be like, I love that, and I don't know why. That just
Yeah,
speaks to me. And so
yeah,
with with that, I think that it takes away some of that pressure, and I try not to be thinking about um yeah, it's just a lot more about being in the process of it, rather than what's going to happen with it. If I share it, I share it. If I don't, I don't, you know.
mm, yeah. Because it makes me think about actually, yeah, like, because I'm thinking about like my painting process and like some, I never used to really paint. It was always crafts and textiles and clay and models and then actually, I suppose it's evolved really. And because I sort of work in there very much in layers, and I'll build something up and it's like
Mm,
layer after layer after layer. And there's times when I just sort of go, ooh, like it's art that makes me go, ooh. And then there's times that I'm just like, sort of thing.
mhm,
But all of these stages this I might take a photograph at one stage if there's a bit that I like want to record, or sometimes I make videos of the steps as well. But then I might also find that there's a bit that I just don't like and I paint over it. So the thing about art that I love that just really draws me to it is that these things can change. So if you're expressing a
Mm,
particular mood, emotion, idea, and then you're painting it, and maybe that represents color or shape, like you were saying, and then actually your mood softens and your mood shifts, and then it becomes into some other color. When we're
mm,
communicating that to other people in words or actions, we may then, give out an apology, or we may just turn around and go, we might be saying, actually, I didn't mean that. Didn't actually mean to say, like, I feel like you misunderstood me. And, but the message is still there. And the words, we almost have these universal meanings to words, don't we? Whereas
mm,
imagery doesn't have that meaning. So
mm.
but there's very much a case of how much you express yourself compared to how much you communicate that thing to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think that feels really important to me to be able to do some, there's times when I'll sit on my sofa drawing, and there's times when I'll be kind of upstairs in my art studio and I'm like really in the zone and really in flow, and I might take longer to do something, or I might be dipping in and out of it. And yeah, there is that kind of thing about at what point might I show that, or what point might it just be for me? So there's
Mm.
things that I've got in my sketchbook probably nobody has ever seen or may never will see, sort of thing. And but I don't know because I can't remember what I've taken photos of and what I've not sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it's really interesting, isn't it?
one thing that I picked up on from what you were saying there was about that doing things in layers and kind of getting to a point where I would call it the messy middle bit where
Yeah,
everything's kind of started and it's looking a little bit weird and you might not have had a plan, but you're kind of thinking, well, I'm sure the plan wasn't this. And it it can be a bit daunting at that point. And I think like I've had to do a lot of work around just moving through that. I
yeah,
like years ago, I used to give up at that point. I was like, this is just not happening. We'll abandon it. We'll try something else. Now I've realized if I carry on through it, like amazing things can happen. And like you say, the picture can completely change again, can't it? Like multiple
yeah,
times. And then that makes it really exciting because
yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's partly why I like watercolors because
Mm,
there's quite an unpredictability about how they work. There's there's elements you can control, but you can also like do the opposite and give it as much freedom as you want and then kind of start to follow what's naturally happening with the colors and the shapes and things and build on those rather than trying to start with a specific thing. I'm not sure how much sense that made.
yeah, yeah. So it's again, it's going back to the process, isn't it? And
Mhm.
whilst sometimes you might have an idea of how it might develop, you might think, oh, I want to draw a landscape, or I want to do a portrait, or I want to do something. Other times you might not, and you might just start to apply the paint with your brush and like allow the movement of your hand and the brush to happen. And
Mm.
then for colours to come, you get like a cat paw print on your paint sometimes,
Yeah.
and like just see what happens. But then even when there is a plan, then things might then evolve, and it's still about those subtle qualities. There's something about watercolors, I think, Liz, about how the paint drips, and
Yeah.
how much fluid you have in paint can make a huge difference to sort of how much control you have in the
Mhm.
process. So you could almost like challenge yourself by letting go of some of that control, or then
Yeah.
if you're feeling that, feeling a certain way, feeling quite anxious, then you might want to choose to use less water so that you have more control, so that you can feel a bit more certainty about it, which I think can be
Mm.
really helpful. Yeah. So, like with the people that you help, and like
Mhm.
you're a coach, aren't you? Like, how would like is creativity part of that? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so I do ADHD coaching, and I find that sometimes people can be very visual. So it depends on it entirely on the person as to how I would work with them. But some people really like to have kind of visual, creative activities that they can do between sessions. And so
Yeah,
that they can really kind of start to dig into an idea and a concept and then come back and talk about it then. Because sometimes I find when we're trying to talk through things, it might be a bit difficult to work out exactly how you feel about something in the moment. Or it might be that you just know inside how that feels, but you don't know how to express that in words.
yeah,
And so being able to have that time to think about it whilst doing a piece of artwork, um, and whatever comes out on the page comes out on the page. You know, it's not about again, it's not about the beauty of it. It has
no,
its
of
own
course not.
beauty from the fact that you've done it, you know, and it just gives that talking point, and it really does help people to I mean, as you all know, it just helps people talk around things.
Mm,
Um, and also, I find I also run quite a few workshops which are around different areas of creativity and reflections and things like that. And so those can be really helpful with either just regulating or again sort of exploring things but in a different way and just reducing the pressure from talking, I think can be really helpful sometimes.
mm, yeah. It's really relevant, isn't it, to be able to um go away and then process something and then
Yeah.
do more and like as someone's creating, then a bit like when you go for a walk, like ideas pop up. Like when
Mm,
we're moving our bodies, when we're doing something in the middle of doing, that's where we might feel more relaxed. And for a lot of people, just you referencing some ADHD, sitting and doing nothing isn't necessarily relaxing. And
yeah.
that that
It can feel really uncomfortable for some people, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I I think that we can have a lot of thoughts around what rest and relaxation are. And again, I'm kind of more about, well, what does it mean to you? And
yeah,
what feels good to you? And it doesn't have to be sitting still and doing nothing. This is one of the ways that I love to relax. Um, walking is another. And like you say, when you're doing those kinds of things, it it takes you out of your head a little bit more, doesn't it? Back into the
yeah,
body, gives yourself that little bit of a reset, gives it the space. I think like space is so important because there's so many things that take up our brain spaces these days.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, giving ourselves that is so important and easily forgotten, you
yeah, it
know.
is, isn't it? Like, I mean, it takes us back to the shoulds, doesn't it? Of,
Yeah.
being an adult and feeling that we should be sensible or, appear to be productive or whatever it is. And actually, if a child was feeling wobbly, if a child was feeling struggling with their emotions, then it might be that they do something creative. It might be that they go run around a field for a little while. It might
Mm,
be, and do we give ourselves permission to dance like unapologetically in the living room or to like shake and let off all of our emotions out? And it's there's so much that's really about us getting to know ourselves
mm.
and doing what's right for us. I think that's
And
really
of course,
important.
emotions are not just stored within our brains. It's a part of the whole of us, and
Yeah,
so being able to have those like the movement and stuff is really helpful in literally shifting things around.
yeah. It's like I always imagine, say, like if you've got like the oil pastel and you're holding it and then it goes all the way up through your body and then we kind of like tangle it up and then we like if I was to express what's going on inside my body with my feet, it's like I don't know, like
Mm,
we'll draw how we're feeling wobbly now sort of thing. But it's yeah, there's so much about the mind, body, soul connections there and
yeah,
allowing it to just happen rather than it being so serious.
yeah,
Mm. And at the start, we were saying about, um, making arts, like mind doing things that were mindfully compared to, and that idea of uh, when are we when is it about self-expression, when is it communication, and when is it about more about emotional regulation? And that's where again there's maybe something about having that intention or recognizing what's going on in your body and in your mind, and what might you might not know straight away what's helpful, but you might try something and then realize that no, that wasn't helpful. That's made me more annoyed. Or might actually doing this is helpful in the moment.
Yeah, and I think to sit down and do some art, well, you don't even have to be sat down, do you? There's all kinds of ways you can do art.
Yeah.
Um, but to, it doesn't need to be, I'm committing myself to an hour of this.
No.
It can be a 5 minute. I mean, for me, there's nothing better than a good old scribble.
Yeah.
Just like if I'm feeling frustrated, a good scribble on the paper, and then that can be it. But also, what sometimes happens is that that scribble will have part of it, and I go, "Oh, that's really interesting," and I get
Mm.
interested in what's happened, and then I might start putting some color in, and then other things will carry on, and before I know it, you know, I didn't. I thought it was going to be a 5 minute, and I'm done, but I've actually sat there for 20 minutes, half an hour, and the difference in how I'm feeling is, I'm so much softer. I'm feeling much calmer. I feel like that frustrating thing, whatever it was, isn't as frustrating or as heavy as I thought it was. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just find those kinds of things really useful. And because sometimes I think if you get things in your head around, well, I have to spend X amount of time doing a thing, then that can just create more of a barrier into doing it. Whereas if
Oh
it's,
yeah,
I'm just going to do this for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and
that's
then
true.
see what happens, it
That's true.
changes that, doesn't it?
I'm a big fan of scribbling. And if someone's saying that they can't draw, and it's kind of, well, can you hold a pen or a pastel in your hand? Can you wiggle your hand? Then you can scribble. And then if
Yeah.
you can scribble, then you can kind of build from there. And it's like, can you scribble? Yes, you can. Can you scribble? Yes, you can. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I absolutely love it when people have come to me saying that they're not creative. They haven't got one of
creative
the
bone in their
phrases is
body.
no creative fun in the body, and then by the end of a session, they're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I created that."
Yeah.
We've not done anything complicated, but they've enjoyed that process so much they can then see the beauty in what they've created. That's what I believe, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we share a lot of these like processes and experiences. Like people come to my workshops as well. And sometimes it's not about, oh, I'm surprised I could do the creative thing. It's I'm really pleased that I allowed myself time to do it.
Yeah,
And I gave myself permission to colour outside the lines and
yeah.
paint the sky green if I wanted to. And to like it can be really act of rebellion, can't it? Like
No, I was
doing
just thinking
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And why not?
No, exactly. Yeah.
Art is one of those things you can do exactly what you want, and
Yeah.
that's everything's valid.
Yeah. I mean, there's such a spectrum of things to do, and there's so many kind of decision making points along the way,
Mm,
and so many opportunities as well. So yeah, there's so many things that people can do, like whether they have guidance for it or whether it's that they're going more free flow. And yeah, this is what these videos really are all about, like showcasing how accessible it can be, and
mm,
also just recognizing how like we're not here to undermine those struggles to get started, where we know what it's like to have creative blocks. And if
mm,
someone if someone that's been an artist all their lives and such like also struggles to get creative sometimes, then no wonder somebody that doesn't feel that creative might find it hard. And that's what I want to sort of highlight, that, you know, I know that it can be difficult in the same way that a personal trainer might just say, just get to the gym, just off your tool, it's easy, just get started. And I'm there going, well, I just put weight on, and I'm like, you've not got started. But I know once I get going, once you've got into that momentum, starting is always the hardest thing, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it's just
definitely.
like, I suppose, reinforcing that and raising that profile, raising that awareness of the different ways that art and creativity can come into people's lives. And yeah, that's why I wanted you to join me, really. So do you have any final thoughts to share before we finish?
Well, I was just thinking about the picture that I've been painting and how it's it's turned into a very satisfying, swirly, colourful montage. And yeah, I think it brought took me back actually, because we were talking whilst we were doing it, to being back at school, and
Yeah,
how
that's
I always
nice.
used to doodle when I was in classes, and
Yeah,
that actually really helps me to tune in to what the conversation is and what's going on around me. And
yeah,
I think there's a lot of negativity around, particularly when kids are doodling in class, isn't there? I think it's getting
yeah,
more accepted these days, but I just used to find it so helpful in helping my focus and concentration,
yeah.
and it was just really interesting doing that and then thinking back to those school days.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Because sitting still, if someone's been given the message to not to doodle, to sit still, to look at the teacher, then what they end up doing is concentrate on looking at the teacher. They can't learn anything because all their energy is going on concentrating, looking. Do I look like I'm listening? That's what the focus is on, and then they just can't pay attention to it. And
Yeah,
whereas if you know you're looking out the window at the pigeon over there, then you're probably more likely to be listening. And yeah, so a lot of that's about you understanding yourself. You know, I've just really enjoyed kind of like colouring in, and then communicating that to people really who
mm,
might need to. So as an
mm,
adult, there might not people might not need to know that, but for children, you would maybe have someone advocating for them in the classroom. So
yeah,
there's so many different kind of benefits of that, isn't there? But,
definitely.
right.
But yeah,
Thank
it's
you
been
so much
absolutely
for
lovely having
joining
a
me.
chat with you.
Yeah, it's been good to talk with you. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.